won a preseason game, so that's exciting. Whenever they say like Eagles win against the whenever it says Eagles win in this preseason game, I'm like, does anyone even care about that? But it does. I guess people do. Eagles really wanted to run the football yesterday. Here's my major takeaways from the game. Eagles really wanted to test their offensive line, especially a guy like Andre Dillard. They wanted to see Cam Jurgens get out in space, and he certainly did that to block for his running backs. You saw Boston Scott go out there and run the football well. You saw Kenny Gainwell go out there and run the football well. There's a couple of other guys in the second half that I thought stepped up. We'll get into those guys a little bit later. But looking at this run game, just to put this in perspective of how determined the Eagles were to run the football yesterday. They ran the football through the first quarter and a half 21 times. They ran the football through the first quarter and a half 21 times. That was just with running backs. With running backs alone last year, they averaged 23 attempts per game. Per game, not per half, per game last year. So the Eagles really wanted to run the football just yesterday in this preseason game. I know some other people thought it was weird to have a 1 o'clock preseason kickoff on a Sunday afternoon. I think that is odd. I don't know who it was, but somebody pointed out the idea of just having it, a Sunday afternoon in August. The heat that can get to some of these players, it's good for nobody. I agree, it was good for nobody. I saw Jordan Davis look a little tired on a couple of plays yesterday. He was a little winded, especially at the end of that first half, which is when he was done playing. But overall, these are a couple of things that jumped out to me. One was the run game in general. I thought Andre Dillard had one of his best performances in an Eagles jersey. Yes, it's the preseason. Everyone knows it's the preseason. But I thought he did a great job of standing his ground. I thought he did a great job of fighting. I thought he did a great job of also moving when he had to move to get upfield to try to make blocks. I thought he had a great game. All right, he had a great preseason game. Good for him. A plus for him. Cam Jurgens. It's still okay. I said this last week. I'll say it again now. It's okay to say this guy is the Jason Kelce style of player. It's okay to say that. Gets off the line of scrimmage extremely well, gets downfield with force, with agility, with speed. You saw the one block that he had on one of the first runs by Boston Scott. He threw a man, basically. Same style. Whether it's the same level of play, you know what? It's yet to be seen. I'm not going to put that smoke or that pressure on that young man when you're talking about possibly comparing him to a Hall of Famer. So I'm not really going to do that just yet. But if I want to talk about style, if I want to talk about the ability to be agile and quick off the line of scrimmage, definitely that style. That's okay to say. Is everyone okay? Everyone okay that I said that? All right, nobody's head's exploding? Okay, cool. So Cam Jurgens definitely jumped out to me. Andre Dillard jumped out to me. People are making a little bit of a big deal there about Boston Scott and Kenny Gainwell. I know those guys are talented. I didn't need to really watch that yesterday. I didn't think yesterday was necessarily for them in terms of, I want to see what Boston Scott and Kenny Gainwell have. I think Nick Sirianni is pretty aware of what he has in Boston Scott and Kenny Gainwell. I don't think he needed to see that. I think he wanted to see more from his offensive line, and I think he saw more from his offensive line. I think the run game yesterday was more about the O-line than it was about the run game itself. A couple of other guys, and I know Chachere missed a tackle in the backfield that ended up being the biggest play of the offensive play for the Browns, but on Dobbs. But I thought overall, he played a good game. That was one bad play. We'll get to Davion Taylor in a minute here. A wide receiver that jumped out at me yesterday is Deon Cain. Deon Cain played over there with the Colts. I think it was under Nick Sirianni and Frank Reich. But he's got experience with Sirianni. He is smaller than I thought. I expected at least a 6'3", 6'4" wide receiver. He definitely plays bigger than a 6'1", 6'2" wide receiver, which is what he's listed at. But he showed me a lot of range in yesterday's game. There was a back shoulder throw that he was on point with Gardner Minshew for in the first half. Then that was right after that back shoulder throw was right after he went up and got a football over the defensive back, which I thought was a big play. A lot of confidence for him down the sideline. You could see a lot of trust there. There was some contact he had on the other side of the football field a little bit later in the ball game that he wasn't able to pull down the catch, but still that same type of physicality factor was there. He showed me something in yesterday's game. I was on CBS 3 last night. My friend Don Bell. And he asked me about this wide receiving core and how much he hears about this wide receiving core being the deepest the Eagles have ever had. And I was going through the cuts in my head because tomorrow, Tuesday, the Eagles have to cut 5 players. And I'm thinking, are one of those 5 players going to be a wide receiver? Because it is a tough call. And you saw during the game yesterday, they listed all the wide receivers that are available to the Eagles, and John Hightower is still on that list, right? But if you're really breaking it down, you're talking about Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown and Quez Watkins as your top 3. I think that's undisputed. Zach Pascal showed me some good stuff yesterday. I didn't need to see more good film on him, but I needed a little reassurance, and there he was, giving you reassurance. Jalen Reagor had a nice catch for you. Jalen Reagor, I will say this about him. I still don't think he's going to be on the team. However, I think Jalen Reagor went out there and is trying to put as much good film on tape as possible before he is somewhere else, because I don't think he's going to be on this team. But I do think after you're looking at a guy like Zach Pascal, I think after Quez Watkins, I think you're looking at Zach Pascal. I think you're looking at Deon Cain. I think those are guys that the Eagles are going to want to keep on this roster as wide receivers to play on the regular basis for this team. And I think that is a pretty damn good wide receiving core. All 5 of those guys already NFL experience, already have shown that they have good hands at this level. And if they have the ability to get on the same page as Gardner Minshew right out of the gate, then that shows me that at least Jalen Hurts can also do that same thing when the season starts. So for me, I think when you talk about your 5 wide receivers you might be carrying on this roster into the regular season as the final 53, and then maybe even the final 47 on game day after it actives, that I think is still a pretty damn good wide receiving core when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think Jalen Hurts is going to have some marquee targets out there. And that's not even talking about the tight end position yet with Dallas Goedert. I was disappointed that Grant Calcaterra wasn't able to play yesterday because of the hamstring injury. I was looking forward to seeing him play. Didn't get that opportunity. Jack Stahl, they weren't going to tight ends yesterday, is basically how that game played out. But looking at Kenny Gainwell, mentioned him. I thought Kayvon Wallace had a couple of good plays, and he's a guy that's really looking to prove himself in that linebacker position. Conversely, friend of the show, Davion Taylor did not have a good game yesterday. I mentioned the Dobbs run. I mentioned Chachere in the backfield there, not being able to bring him down. That was a missed tackle. That was a missed sack opportunity. And Davion Taylor looked like he took the right angle to Dobbs as he was streaking down the sideline. And I don't know if he was afraid of popping a quarterback. I don't know if he thought Dobbs was going to be stepping out of bounds, but he did not make the play. That's the bottom line. I can't tell you what was going through the young man's head, but he needed to make that play. He did not make that play. Browns end up setting up a touchdown after that play. So that was a really bad play for Davion Taylor.